Today on the Women Mind the Water Artivist Series podcast on womenmindthewater.com, I'm speaking with Lisa Tossey, a storyteller and communications specialist. Lisa currently works as communications manager for Global Fishing Watch, a nonprofit that uses cutting-edge technology to transform data into information that encourages fair and sustainable use of ocean resources. The Women Mind the Water Artivist Series podcast on womenmindthewater.com engages artists in conversation about their work and explores their connection to the ocean. Through their stories, Women Mind the Water hopes to inspire and encourage action to protect the ocean and her creatures. Today I'm speaking with Lisa Tossey, an accomplished multimedia communicator who uses art and technology to explore the work of ocean-oriented organizations and make their complex work understandable and engaging for the public. Lisa is currently communications manager for Global Fishing Watch, a global nonprofit that was featured in the Outlaw Ocean, a riveting podcast by a Pulitzer Prize winner and former New York Times journalist. Global Fishing Watch focuses on overfishing and illicit fishing on the high seas, facts that have created a modern-day tragedy of the commons. Welcome, Lisa. I'm really happy to have you on the Women Mind the Water podcast. I think the work that you and Global Fishing Watch do is extremely important. Why don't we begin by discussing Global Fishing Watch? Lisa, what is the origin story for Global Fishing Watch?
Thanks so much. I'm so happy to be here chatting with you today. Global Fishing Watch, it's a global nonprofit, as you mentioned, that was founded nearly a decade ago. And it was started as a collaboration between three partners. Those partners are Oceana, and Oceana is an international ocean conservation organization. The second is SkyTruth, and SkyTruth is a tech firm that uses satellite imagery and data to protect the environment. And then Google, we all know Google. And Google's kind of part in the project was they provided the tools and the contributions to help process big data, which is key to our work. So that was 2015, and then in 2016, it was officially launched at the Our Ocean Conference, which is a large conference hosted by the U.S. State Department. And then by 2017, Global Fishing Watch was established as an independent international nonprofit organization. And we've continued to grow since then. We now have over 100 members on our team, globally distributed in 30 countries around the world. And we're all remote organization. So we can find us basically almost on every continent.
I never imagined. So tell us more about the work that Global Fishing Watch does.
So the main mission of our work is to advance ocean governance through increased transparency of human activity at sea. And we're doing that using advanced technology. I mentioned the big data. We're turning that big data into actionable information, information that we share publicly for free to both accelerate science and drive policies and practices that reward good behavior, as well as protecting really key aspects related to the ocean, like biodiversity and fisheries and the livelihoods of everyone that has work related to the ocean. One of our big goals is by 2030, we aim to monitor and visualize the impact of ocean-going vessels. That's both industrial and smaller scale vessels that are responsible for the vast majority of the global seafood catch. And by monitoring and visualizing those vessels, it helps to enable scientific research and drive transformation of how we manage the ocean. So it's truly global and driven by technology, but connected to kind of people's everyday lives and work and the fisheries of the oceans.
Wow, between the membership and the data that you're collecting, these are huge parcels of data. It's overwhelming to me. So, what is the greatest challenge facing Global Fishing Watch?
Um, you said it, it's very ambitious. The ambition is huge. The goals are huge. Um, when I first came on and was trying to wrap my mind around the work and all that's involved in not only processing and understanding this data, but then making it available in a usable format for all to use. It it just seemed a huge thing to try to do, but um, we have, I have to say, the most extremely talented, innovative team that I've ever worked with. Um, and I kind of have every faith in them being able to help us reach those goals. We've recently expanded our work to illuminate all human activity at sea. So even larger than fishing, looking at all industrial activity and make that available freely to the world as part of kind of our latest work, which is also, it's going to be transformative. I'm part of the communications team. I feel very fortunate to be on that aspect of the work because I get to kind of touch on all the various parts of the work that's related, the scientific research, the innovation, the analysis, the product work that provides kind of the interface for the public to be able to access the data or for journalists to be able to go in and look at particular aspects. So I'm constantly learning about all the intricacies of the work, how it's being done and the impact that it's having, which kind of leaves me constantly in awe of what's being accomplished. So while the goals may be ambitious, I see us being able to reach them due to the incredible people I work with.
So, with the enormity of the data, how do you go about
Yeah.
creating an engaging, relevant story about fishing activities or other activities in the marine environment that can be easily digested by non-scientific folks?
Connecting complex topics back to people's everyday lives can be really important to help them understand, how does this affect me or what is the impact on my life? So being able to kind of pull some key details or information, whether it be about, the impact of the seafood they'd like to eat or a particular region that we're focusing on can be very helpful in making that connection. In science communication, a lot of my work has been related to scientific research and breaking down some really complex research and making it understandable to the public. And taking some of those key research findings and breaking them down in a very engaging, understandable way, I think can make the science a lot more approachable. That's one thing that we're striving to do at Global Fishing Watch right now. And we're doing that through visual storytelling, using video and scrollytelling, immersive, rich visual stories to showcase kind of the beautiful, the gorgeous data visualizations, and being able to illustrate some key stats and provide context for the work in a visual way that draws people in and gives them that kind of the key information that makes them, I don't know, not connect to the work, but want to share the information that they found.
Right. I looked at two of the videos that you had up, and I wondered, where do you get the video material of these boats at sea?
Some of the kind of on-site photography and videography we're able to do through our communications team and on-site. Others we get through partners. We work with a lot of partners in different regions. And then for some of the further afield, when we're talking about when we're looking at global scope or from satellite, we can work with like NASA, or they have a lot of their visuals available for use, or through stock when we need to.
Well, let's turn to your story now. I noticed
Yeah.
that your focus has always been water. You've been involved with the Chesapeake Quarterly, the National Marine Educators Association, the Delaware Sea Grant College Program, and I'm sure many more. So why have you chosen to focus on water?
Water is my happy place, particularly the ocean. I grew up near the Atlantic in my younger years, and I've moved inland several times and have tried different places further inland, by lakes, by rivers, Pittsburgh with the three rivers, down in North Carolina near some lakes, and it's never been quite the same. And I've always kind of boomeranged back out to the coast.
Right.
It's just, I've never lasted more than a year or two away from the coast.
Does your work at Global Fishing Watch inform your own personal artistic process? And I know that you're a photographer, and I've seen your art page, and we'll have a link to that on your page on womenmindthewater.com. So how is your knowledge about the state of the ocean reflected in your artwork?
On the scientific side, I want to capture things exactly as they are and kind of that specificity. But the more time I spend out there, it helps me break out of that and kind of think in a more creative way, and kind of embrace the more randomness of waves not coming in at a perfect rhythm or set, or how clouds can break up a sunrise. There's definitely more of a randomness to nature that that helps me break out of the more rigid thinking of a scientific mindset.
So I was trained as a scientist, and it's been really interesting to talk to the different artivists, because some of them are more literal in their translations, and some of them it's like it's very abstract, and yet I get it. And so I'm very appreciative of it. I know when I started on this journey doing the podcast, all of a sudden I had animals clamoring, telling me in my ear what their problems were. So I created this series of marine animals, and their images are very graphic and engaging and ironic. And then there are just different parts of the pictures that refer to issues, like I have a killer whale wearing beat headsets, referring to all the noise in the ocean. And it has a big necklace bling that has this little shriveled up
oh, I love it.
Or not trout, salmon, referring to the fact that the food that it depends on is actually having its own feeding problems. And then the necklace is made out of the rings that now they don't use anymore, thank goodness, to hold soda cans together. So
yeah,
so it's a whole range. So I get what you say, that it's very hard as somebody who's got an artistic bent to break out of that scientific,
the analytical mindset.
Yes.
And I see it particularly because my husband is like an artist through and through, while I'm very kind of the analytical creative. So if we're both out on the beach, I'll see something and I'll be thinking about the scientific name. I'll be thinking about, oh yeah, the swimmer legs have this function. While he'll be looking at like a pattern of scales or like a coloration, looking at it as an artist. So I think I'm kind of more in like the scientific illustrator type mindset, very specific and having everything correct, while he's in a much more creative place where he'll do something more like you just mentioned, or draw like a really cool illustration of a crab, and then I'll ask about the number of legs or the color of the claws, and he'll be like, it's art. So our brains approach the same things very differently, but it makes for a really good balance.
Some people love abstract art and some people don't get it. And if you're trying to do your art to convey a message, either because you want to inform someone because you have something you need to get out. You have to do that in a way that works for you or the people that you're trying to reach. And we all digest the material differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
That's what makes it all so unique. And I love seeing others' perspectives and interpretations of similar things because we all approach things very differently.
Very differently. So, as an artist and a communicator, what advice do you have on how we should communicate our feelings about the ocean?
Yeah, from a creative standpoint, because feelings can be such a personal thing and people have different comfort levels with sharing how, feelings publicly, I think from a creative perspective, first and foremost, it's important to embrace kind of the creative pursuits that give you joy, that make you uh, really feel good, whether it's poetry, photography, ceramics. I work with one scientist who was a very creative person that would crochet marine organisms as kind of their outlet. And it helped kind of get their creative juices flowing and focusing on what you enjoy versus what you might think others want, I think is more personally fulfilling. I've worked with some frustrated creatives that, produce a bunch of things that they think that others may want to buy or see, and not kind of what brought them joy. And it's a different process. So having that outlet that allows you to express yourself authentically is key. Even if you're just doing it for yourself, but if you're open to sharing that work and that perspective with others, I think that joy or passion will shine through no matter what type of work you're doing, whether it's written work or visual work. I hope that made sense.
So let's look at the other side of the coin. I recently posted an interview, actually was my 80th guest, a best-selling author, Wallace J. Nichols. He was working with young ocean artivists before his untimely death. Jay was concerned that young people are dispirited by climate change anxiety, and he came to believe that his job and that of all adults is to support young people rather than feeding into their anxiety. How do you manage stress?
The stress of knowing all that's coming. It's always present. It can be scary and frustrating and overwhelming at times. We're facing some huge challenges. But I also think there's a lot of reasons to have hope. I have, over the past few decades, have worked with a lot of really brilliant people that are focused on facing these impacts and finding solutions. And I have the utmost respect and kind of faith in the coming generations for their energy and focus on tackling these issues as well. I've worked with a lot of students through education and outreach work and at universities. They're bright, focused, they're making their voices be heard. And I think we need to really do all that we can to amplify their voices and continue to support them in any way possible because it's their future at stake. And we're all part of the cause. So we need to help them in any way we can, and also lift up the positive stories and make sure it's not all doom and gloom, and get the wins out there as well, to help kind of fuel that hope and that energy they have to find a solution. I have 4 nieces and nephews that are all in their 20s, and I worry like crazy about their future, but at the same time, I see their energy and their focus, and that of their friends, and they give me a lot of hope.
So what do you think is the most impactful thing that an artist can do to share the current state of the environment with others?
I think the most impactful thing, not only in the state of the environment, but I think for any artist is to be able to share their unique perspective. We all come from different backgrounds and different life experiences. And it's always fascinating for me to see how subjects can be examined through different lenses, how writers and artists might approach different topics and themes, because there's a lot we can learn from those varying viewpoints and those creative expressions to broaden our own understanding and our own outlooks, I think. I'm very fortunate here. I'm in a little town called Berlin, Maryland, near the Atlantic coast. That's one of the Maryland state, I forget exactly, it's artistic community. But we live in a very vibrant and supportive arts community, which inspires me every day. But there's also a large focus on the environmental aspect of where we live and how key it is to preserve it. We've got some beautiful national seashore near us. That's a really unique place. And a lot of the artists and creatives focus on that in their work. And I find it hugely inspiring.
Well, you're very lucky, and I feel lucky that we've had you on the podcast. And I'm grateful for you for being here. You've given us much to think about. I'd like to remind listeners that I've been speaking with Lisa Tossey, an artivist whose work encourages fair and sustainable use of ocean resources. Lisa is the latest guest on the Women Mind the Water Artivist Series podcast. The series can be viewed on womenmindthewater.com, Museum on Main Street, and YouTube. An audio-only version of the podcast is available on womenmindthewater.com, on iTunes, and Spotify. Women Mind the Water is grateful to Jane Rice for the use of her song, Women of Water. All rights for the Women Mind the Water name and logo belong to Pam Ferris-Olson. This is Pam Ferris-Olson.